Hello and welcome to the Here We Grow Show, a show specifically designed to bring together community leaders making a difference and share financial strategies so you can plan for and live the retirement lifestyle you've always dreamed. Your host is Amazon bestselling author, president, and founder of Foguth Financial Group, Michael Foguth.
Hi, I'm Michael Foguth. I believe in educating you about information that matters to you and your retirement. Join me this week and every week as we welcome today's leaders in our community, as well as experts in the field of finance and retirement to discuss topics that matter to you today. These discussions can help you make better financial decisions so you can plan for and live the retirement of your dreams. All right, folks, well, welcome back to the Here We Grow radio show. I am excited. I am your host, Michael Foguth of the Foguth Financial Group. And the reason I'm so excited this week is because normally we have one, maybe two guests, but this week we have three guests. And you know what? It's one of these things that I wanted to bring on, and I really want to do more of this for you out there in the audience because we're getting such great feedback from people listening saying, look, we're loving the take on what's going on in the economy and with what's going on in retirement. Can we get more of that? And that's exactly what we want to be able to do to bring out to the listeners is we are going to bring you more direct retirement talk, more direct financial talk, more things that are going on right now in the retirement landscape. And with that being said, my three special guests this week, and again, the goal is if you have questions about what we're talking about, is you go to the HereWeGrowRadioShow.com website, you let us know. You can email us at Foguth Financial, go to the website, there's a chat box. There's a plethora of ways that you can go ahead and leave us a comment or a question, but we are here to be able to be a resource to you, our community. So first and foremost, we have Bradley Vay, we have Alexander Pushman, and we have Nick Calvaneso, all our retirement consultants and advisors here at Foguth Financial Group. And again, they were the lucky chosen ones for this week, folks. So if they're your advisor out there, make sure that you give them a warm call or an email and say, hey, I heard your lovely voice on the radio, or maybe you're watching this online on our YouTube channel. So gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I am excited. I know that the listening audience is excited. You have all been a guest on the Here We Go radio show in the past, but we want to dive in really deep right now. We're not getting into articles, third parties. We're not getting into interviews. We're going to be talking about what you are all experiencing right now when you're meeting with clients out there and potential clients or doing your workshops, and people are asking questions because this is a time like we have never seen before, right? I mean, this is a time of, I almost said post-COVID, but you know what I mean? It's kind of that wave of things. We're getting ready to go into an election. We're getting ready to go to the end of the year. It's the fourth quarter start, all these things that are happening. So whoever wants to start, raise your hand right now. I'll call on you and I'll let you kind of jump in. Nick, go ahead, jump in. Tell us, what are you seeing out there in these conversations?
I'm hearing a couple words here. One, changes. Everyone out there is understanding that our world around us is changing, and it's changing every day. All aspects of retirement planning, if you just look at inflation, I'll tell you one thing. There's not one person that can't say that their life is changing from one grocery store trip to the next. The costs are going up. Changes in taxes. Look at what's going on with our government. They're writing checks from empty bank accounts, right? All this stimulus that's going on. I'm hearing that people are more concerned about taxes in the future now than they ever have been before. And I have to imagine it's the same thing that everybody else is hearing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, those are huge changes. And so you're talking about changing and really dipping into people's pocket, right? Those changes are impacting where they can spend their money because if, in retirement, most of the time there's a set budget or we know how much money is coming in each and every month. And if more money has to be flowing out the window towards taxes and towards goods, that means you have less left for the fun stuff, for the grandkids, for the kids, for the going out to eat, for the fun money, if you will, right? For the vacations when those come back around. So great points, Nick. And there are a lot of changes. And, I'm personally seeing a lot of people coming into the office and they're wanting to make changes to their plan. And the reason why that they're making these changes is because they kind of got a snapshot of what they thought was going to be happening in their retirement of, hey, my advisor or whoever it was they're working with said that these were the things that should happen, but they got a taste of that in March and April when it actually did happen. When they say, hey, I don't want to lose money. Oh, well, you're not going to blah, blah, blah. Well, when you lose, a loss is a loss. Now, granted, things have come back, don't get me wrong, but they're not to the level of where they were, and let alone if you're in retirement. So, Brad, tell me, what are you seeing? I mean, you're meeting with, every time I feel like I come into the office, your conference room's closed and you got another new person in there speaking with you because there's a lot of demand out there for what's going on.
Yeah, well, one of the unfortunate things that I have been seeing more recently is the number of people that have been forced into retirement early because of what's been going on. And so it's everything's new to them. The plan had been to work for longer, maybe it was a couple years, maybe it was 5 years, heck, maybe it was 10 more years of work. Now, all of a sudden, they find themselves unemployed and in early retirement. And the first thing that usually comes into play is looking at taxes and how that's going to affect their retirement, not only their retirement and how much money they're going to have in their pocket, but also how's it going to affect their insurance costs. If you're under 65, you're not entitled to Medicare health insurance, right? And so now all of a sudden, where are we going to get insurance in before 65? And what are those costs going to be, right? So that's something a lot of people haven't thought about. Two is also some other planning opportunities too, because of what happened with COVID. We had the CARES distributions that happened this year, which allowed people to access funds from an IRA or a 401k and, give them 3 years to have to pay taxes. So that's a huge planning opportunity. Now, all of a sudden, if you can use the CARES distribution and do some conversion things and spread those taxes out over years. So there's all these new techniques that are coming in and all these new unknowns, and people just really want some help at this time.
Hey, I want to tell you what, Brad, man, I cannot appreciate you more for what you said, because the first thing that came out of your mouth was the early buyouts and the early forced retirements. And you hit the nail on the head that we have seen so many of those people because, look, we've been doing this a long time, and I've seen the automotive buyouts, right? I mean, very common in our area, but that was just one industry or maybe even one company. Now we're seeing it. I mean, I can tell you, we have the GEs, right? We have the Whirlpools, you have the Fords, you have the General Motors. I mean, we had pilots. Heck, I had a lot of medical professionals, nurses and doctors, right? I mean, we're talking about 10, 12 plus industries that got completely just shooken up and flipped on their head. And these are people that have been invested into that business, that company for so many years, right? So look, folks, on the Here We Grow radio show, we're going to get a lot deeper into that because Bradley just brought up a phenomenal point about how many people are forced into an early retirement. We want to talk a lot about that because some of the things he just scratched the surface on of healthcare, taxes, Social Security, what account do you pull from when and how? And so if you are one of those people out there listening right now, or somebody, this is a part that you're going to want to call them right now and say, hey, turn on the radio. You're going to want to hear what they're talking about with these forced distributions. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Here We Grow radio show.
When times get tough, who do you have on your team? At Foguth Financial Group, we win.
We win. We win.
We win.
We win by helping you.
By helping you.
By helping you. By helping you.
We win by helping you achieve the retirement you've always dreamed of. Clients who work with Foguth Financial Group know they are backed by a solid, experienced, and winning team. It's time to choose your team. Choose the team from Foguth Financial Group.
Folks, welcome back to the Here We Grow radio show. I am excited for those of you that are joining us. We have 3 guests this week. Normally we have 1, maybe 2, but we have 3 guests. All of them are financial professionals here at the Foguth Financial Group office. We have Brad, Nick, and Alex. And I'm telling you what, we were just talking about before break. Brad brought up 2 great points. First point was on early buyouts, what happens, or forced retirements. And we're seeing so many industries are doing this right now. And we brought up some great points. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. But the other point was that he was talking about are for people that are seeing their changes to the taxes. And where's that coming from? Well, we're a company, we're a country that is over 23 trillion in debt, with a projected 45 trillion of debt within the next 4 years. That is going to come in form of a tax bill as far as a payback. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, Alex, what would you add to? Because I know that you and I were talking just the other day about people that were, we're living a pretty good lifestyle and, kind of rode up the wave in their company and we're sitting pretty high. And then all of a sudden they get a phone call and email of, hey, we're going to be eliminating the position or asking for eliminating the position. What are you seeing on your end?
Well, I think kind of piggybacking with both Nick and Brad, I've been seeing a lot of the same conversations, taxes and early retirement, right? And to the tax component of what you just said, Mike, I know a great resource that we've used is the usdebtclock.org, right? And for those of you listening or watching, go to usdebtclock.org. And the numbers are pretty startling. I will give you a fair warning of what's going on with this debt and how that's going to affect taxes. That's a good conversation for a financial professional like, we're all having with our clients. So on the tax piece, that's a conversation I'm having on a regular basis. More pertinent to more recent times, I actually just had an appointment earlier this morning, and I spoke to a client. She's 59 years old. And she says, Alex, I'm done. This whole environment is too much for me. What if I didn't work the next 3 years we originally planned on? Can I retire? Are we going to have enough money? And so looking at these income plans, looking at folks, just to your point, Brad, either they're forced to retire, they take a 20% decrease and say, hey, will you keep working for that? Or they say, hey, listen, I'm not willing to take the risk anymore. Maybe it's a healthcare worker or whatever it may be. But I'm just having a lot of those conversations, and the three of you I know can all agree with me. If you start making big changes, hey, I'm not going to work 3, 5, 7 more years, I want to retire now, it's kind of starting from the beginning. You really got to look at the plan from a holistic standpoint and say, hey, what does need to change? Are we okay? From taxes, income, investments, right? Medicare, Social Security. And really starting from a fresh start. So yes, I'm having those conversations, details as much as the clients need, but it's taxes and a lot of people are retiring. I'd say I've had that conversation in the last 3 weeks, 12 times, Mike.
Well, Nick, I'm going to let you speak to an exact scenario. So Nick and I were working on a case together, and a client came in, sat down with him. She's single. She's been working, very high level professional, and had been wanting to retire, kind of, just hand on the back burner, was happy doing what she was doing, but was kind of getting tired, we're ready to go on to the next phase of life. And this whole COVID thing really put her over the edge. And what was the coolest part that Nick shared with me was she came in between her second and her third appointment, she sold all of her work clothes. She literally said, Nick, because of what you were able to show me with the planning of my taxes and my Social Security and my investments and my income and all these things, that she felt so confident, she literally sold all of her work clothes. Nick, tell us that story, because I think it'd be great for the audience to hear. Again, don't get into specifics or names or anything like that, but kind of walk us through what that looked like.
Of course, it's one of the feel-good stories of what we do and how we really help people and how we can really impact people on a daily basis. And the stress level that this specific individual had of just looking for a new job, thinking, do I have to have something? Do I need to find something? I'm going back to the drawing board. They're telling me it's a 3-interview process. Do I have to go back to work? And just not knowing, right? Well, we put a real plan together. We ran the numbers. We did the math. And what it said was, you don't need to stress about it anymore. It really, I could see her go from the beginning to the second meeting we got together, the third time we got together, and the lift off the shoulders was incredible. And it comes down to the unknowns and the things that changed. She wasn't expecting this to happen, just like many of you out there are not. Look, none of us expected to happen what happened this year. We couldn't have wrote this script if we tried, right? This movie hasn't even played yet in the big screen. But the changes that people are going on when all these unknowns are happening, there's uncertainty. So to give her that clarity of what was possible for her if we just followed a sync plan, I'll have to tell you, I went home that day and really smiled and called Mike and shared it with him. And it's a great feeling to give that type of clarity to individuals that are just going through these changes in this world right now.
Well, I think that's a big one, because most people that are out there that are working, as you're working, it kind of becomes a routine of every 2 weeks when you get a paycheck, your money automatically goes into your 401k, and your mind's not on that. Your mind is on your job Monday through Friday, right? Saturday and Sunday come and you have this huge to-do list and you get all these things done, or maybe there's activities and there's up north. There's all these fun things to be doing. Then Monday comes around and you rinse and repeat, but every 2 weeks you're investing money, and then that adds up real quick. But nobody's having these conversations with you about Brad's point, taxes, Brad's point, Social Security, right? So Brad, I look, I know that you're the expert, and really focus on the investments are important. Don't look, I'm not downplaying that right now, but tell everybody out there, I mean, some of the success stories that you're seeing with how you've been able to help people significantly plan the comprehensive plan of taxes, Social Security, investments, rates of returns, all these other things. What's one of those ones out there that jumps out in your mind as far as success, in these past months that you're able to deal with?
So, a lot of times people don't think about everything as a holistic plan. And so I have some new clients that came on, and one of the big things was their current advisor wasn't given any overall comprehensive advice. And so I was able to show them by delaying Social Security and taking less money from their retirement accounts now and taking some money out of savings that they had, that we could drastically reduce their taxes. I think we're saving about $6,000 a year alone in taxes by just changing where we're pulling the money from and delaying Social Security for 30 more months to maximize it. And then when they activate their Social Security, they're number one, they're going to have more guaranteed income from coming in from Social Security. But because of the way we structured their the distributions from their retirement accounts, they'll actually have to take less money later on, and essentially reducing the taxes later on too, because they'll have to draw less money by delaying Social Security longer. Or I'm sorry, they'll draw more money now and pay it at a better rate. And then when they start pulling Social Security, their Social Security won't be taxed.
That's a huge point, because, we were in an advisor meeting earlier today, folks, and we were talking about, some of the things behind the scenes, we were talking about is we're getting ready to do a lot of election presentations, because look, this isn't a political conversation that I want to have, but what we are doing as an organization, and if folks out there that are listening, if you do want to be a part of these, or you want to sit in on them or listen or get the information that we're discussing, we are going to be doing a election presentation. And in that presentation, it's not political. It's not, hey, vote here or vote there. It's, hey, here's what both parties are running on as their platform that directly impact you and your retirement. So this isn't going to be getting into, it does talk about health care as far as Medicare, but it doesn't talk about like premiums of health insurance. This is going to be specifically geared towards a retiree. How will it impact taxes? How will it impact your Medicare? How will it impact your Social Security? How will it impact your required minimum distributions? For those of you out there, what does that mean? At 72 years old, you have to take money out of your accounts. It is a forced distribution. If you're not having these conversations before 72, shame on you, because you should be. All right. So in these presentations, if you want more information on when they are going to be and where they are going to be, go to foguthfinancial.com, click on the events tab. Okay. And on that events tab, it's going to say election presentation. And we'd love to have you a guest. I mean, we are doing these as live events. We're taking all the precautions that are out there. There's a limited number of seats. So I encourage you, if you're listening and you want to come, jump on the registration early, because they will sell out, because we are limited the amount of seats that we have available. But this is going to be really neat, because we're going to talk about President Trump and what he's running on as his platform. We're going to be talking about Joe Biden and what he's going to be running on as his platform, and how it will impact you specifically as a retiree. Not as, a 30-year-old, new mom or new dad, or a 20-year-old college student. Yes, those topics are important. Don't get me wrong. But what I want to educate, and what we want to educate people on, is how will this election impact a retiree or somebody nearing their retirement, right? And again, I know you guys have been around this. This isn't our first election that we've done this, but we have such an overwhelming response in such a unique time. Is there anything out there that jumps out to you guys that you want to make sure that people listening are paying attention to during all the craziness that's happened right now? Not necessarily in the election, but the CARES Act, the Secure Act, all these acts that have passed that are major laws that have impacted retirement. Anything jump out to you guys that you want to talk about so people out there can be aware of and pay attention to?
One thing, if I can, Mike, that I think is important, and I'm sure Brad and Nick will both, have the exact same feelings I do, because we're all having the same conversations with our clients. But to your point, Mike, people might be listening right now and they don't know what the CARES Act is. People might be listening and have no idea what some of these things we're even talking about are. And if that's you, that's a great indicator that it's a good option to reach out. Our process is to help educate people, and I think we all can agree that an educated client, you have a richer, more in-depth conversation. And if you don't know about the CARES Act, if you don't know about these changes in RMDs, if you don't know about some of the things that are taking place on the taxes, hey, should you scale back your investment risk or not with the election coming up? These are all questions that we're having with our clients. And if you're not sure about those answers, it's a real good time to get educated, to make sure you don't make mistakes that maybe you can't get redos on.
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point. We'll have to do a whole show on it because as we get ready to come here to an end here, but there's a whole conversation, Brad, and we want to pick your brain on of what should people be doing, right before the election, right? It's kind of like, nobody has a crystal ball, right? And if anything, if 4 years ago taught us anything, the polls are no indicator of who's going to be the victor. So, what should you be doing? And again, folks, make sure you come back or you subscribe to all of our channels. So when the episode comes out on the Here We Grow radio show, that we're going to be able to talk to you about what you should be doing financially prior to an election. That's a big deal because doing the same thing that you did a week ago, a month ago, or in January probably is not the best idea when there's a major event that we know is going to happen. We didn't know COVID was going to happen. That was a major life event. But I promise you, we've been talking about this in this office for years. We knew this election was coming in November. So we must make changes, right? So in those changes, we're going to talk about those on a whole separate show. But Brad, maybe tease them a little bit. What are some of the things that you're hearing that's going on out there in the market compared to the election?
So here's the one thing, the one thing that causes the ups and the downs in the market is volatility, and uncertainty causes spikes in volatility. And right now, heading into the election is a lot of unknown, right? A lot of uncertainties. We just recovered somewhat from COVID. The market dropped very quick, 30 days, market dropped like 30% It took through the summer to recover, and we just got positive. And then we just had this last 10 days, or the last week and a half, last 10 days, the market dropped another 12% or so, depending on what index you look at. And it's all uncertainty. Number one is make sure you have a plan of action going into the election, and just make sure that you have a defensive mind on some things, because with the uncertainty, unknowns are going to pop up. And you just want to make sure you're properly set up for it. So the big thing is review your plan. Sit down with your advisor and make sure that you have a game plan going into what's going to happen here. What are we, 2 months away? 2 months away from the election, less than 8 weeks away, right?
Yeah, it's going to blink your eye and it'll be here.
Right. I who would have thought we'd be watching football already and the kids would be going back to school, and here we are right now, right? Almost the third week of September because of the way the date's set. So just have a game plan of action going into it. Make sure you've, right now with the market having rebounded, maybe time to take some gains off the table, right? Realize those gains, and just have an overall plan going into this election, knowing that there's going to be more volatility ahead. There's going to be more unknowns, and that with all the spending and everything going on, that you just need to have a real solid game plan, because we don't know what's going to happen.
Great point. And here's the thing, folks, a famous saying in our office: it's not what you earn, it's what you keep, right? It doesn't matter how much you've gone up. It's look, you're not going to be able to brag to your neighbor that, oh, in the last, 2 months, I've made 30%. Wonderful. But how much did you lose before you made that 30, right? So don't go anywhere on the Here We Grow radio show. We are going to come back before we wrap things up. We're going to dive a little bit deeper on some other things that everybody out there listening should be doing prior to this election coming up, prior to, again, Brad's point, the fourth quarter is here. I mean, believe it or not, folks, this year has flown by for some, and it's been forever for others. But believe it or not, it's fall. In Michigan, the weather is turning, the leaves are changing. So when we come back from break, we're going to dive in deep for a few actual action items. You don't want to miss these, because these are things that you can actually do. Tell your advisor to do, tell yourself to do if you're doing it on your own, or come and sit down with us and we'll help you. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
When times get tough, who do you have on your team? At Foguth Financial Group, we win by helping you achieve the retirement you've always dreamed of. Clients who work with Foguth Financial Group know they are backed by a solid, experienced, and winning team. It's time to choose your team. Choose the team from Foguth Financial Group, a team of champions. Foguth Financial Group, building our team to be a part of your team.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in and staying with us here on the Here We Grow radio show. We have talked lots and lots about the changes, not only in the Leafs, but in the economy and the election and the taxes and all these other things that are happening right now. So what I want to dive in a little bit deeper for, gentlemen, and before we wrap things up and we really move on here, is on the Here We Grow show, it's always important that we give people out there, our listening audience, actionable items that they can do and they can take from what they have and what they've heard and make a positive change maybe in their lives or in their portfolio. So look, it doesn't have to be about money, but what's something out there that you would be able to recommend or to help people with to be able to keep them in a good mindset, in a feel good, either financial situation or health situation. So whoever wants to jump, raise your hand, jump in, and let's just go at it. Go ahead, Alex.
All right. The first thing I would throw out, Mike, this is something that I encourage all my clients to do. I do on a personal level. My wife and I every year is coming into the end of the year. And now we do this quarterly, and I'm not saying to overkill it, but take inventory on your current investments, checking, savings accounts. Hey, where do I have my money? What's the balance? What type of money is it, right? And what has changed since maybe the beginning of the year, the last quarter, whatever reference point that you have. But it helps you understand, hey, do I have too many accounts? Do I need to consolidate? Hey, am I up? Am I down? Is this doing what I think it's going to do? How much have I paid in fees this year? These are all very important things. So just kind of take an inventory. Where am I currently at? And then from that standpoint, I think we can all agree, you know, if you need to make changes. Hey, am I taking too much risk right now? Am I not taking enough? Based on your personal preference and your suitability needs, that'll help. And obviously that's where a financial professional comes in, but consolidating, taking inventory for the year.
What a great point, and folks out there listening, Alex brings up a great point because so many times people get fixated on percentages rather than dollar amounts. So if we want to talk about finances for a minute, here's a great reference point. Pull your December 31st statement. How many of you have the same or less money you did on December 31st of 2019? If that's any indicator of the same or less, that means you have not made any money, folks. Just because, a percentage says, hey, you're up this quarter 20%, it sounds good. Hey, you're up 20%, but the reality is your dollars aren't there. So pay attention to that. What a great point. Inventory. Do a checklist because a lot of these things that you have to make decisions on and moves on have to be done by the end of the year. So don't wait until the new year, the new you. Hey, I'm going to redo everything in January. No, this has to be done now so we can make decisions. And we meet with so many clients and we make some portfolio changes and changes. I know we're getting ready to send out a big change that we do. Again, whole conversation we could have just on Roths and Roth conversions. For you that don't know what that is, a Roth conversion, you all should be evaluating the numbers on that like we do with our clients. So Nick, go ahead. What would you recommend somebody do by the end of this year?
So after what we've seen in 2020, I'm going to tell everybody, don't just say if something happens. Be ready for when it happens. And that all starts with having a plan in place. Because going through and say, if this happens, I don't know what I'm going to do. Be prepared that when something does happen, because something will happen. Throughout retirement, if we're going to retire and we have 30 years, expect the unexpected to occur, but it's not going to be the end of the world when it does. Because if you come in and you start with a good plan from the beginning, you'll be able to overcome all those obstacles that come in front of you. So just have that plan and have somebody that you can go to when these things do happen. And we're here to be that for you.
I think two points. I love what you said, Nick. Number one is have the plan for when it happens, not if. If this year tells anything, it will happen, right? It will, right? So have a plan. But two, have somebody you can go to, right? I have so many clients that are widowed or that are single, and sometimes we're a sounding board of that. I just had a client sell a business, and hey, what do I do this, and how do I sell the houses, things like that. Like, look, as comprehensive planners, we're not just going to tell you what to buy, sell, and to do this or that. We will do a conversation with you. If you're husband and wife and you want an independent third party, I can't tell you how many disputes I've solved for clients of saying, okay, I'm not going to give you my emotional answer. I'll give you my mathematical answer. Then you guys can hammer it out over the kitchen table. But this is what the math says, okay? So great points, Nick. Now, Brad, let's wrap it up. What would you say end of the year advice that you would give to someone?
For the end of the year, there's a couple things you want to look at. Number one, you want to look at do you have the opportunity to make a contribution to a retirement account or through work, an employer-sponsored 401k, 403b. Number one, can you do it in the tax-deferred portion? Two, is there a Roth option available? Because right now, taxes are at an all-time low compared to what we've historically seen. And we've already talked about on the show that taxes are going up in the future. So if a Roth option is available, it might be better to do that depending on your situation. Three, look to see if there's an after-tax contribution available. You know, I've got a client that can contribute to an after-tax portion in their 401k and roll that into a Roth IRA directly. It's called supercharging a Roth. Also look to see if you can do a traditional Roth contribution outside of a company plan. If your income's low enough, you're still able to do that. You can do up to, if you're over 50, up to $7,000 a year. And then after that, the other things to look at are HSA or flex spending accounts that you can max out by the end of the year. You're just looking for finding options to set yourself up for lower taxes later on. Is the number one thing I can recommend to people today.
You bring up, you guys all brought up great points. I'm going to leave you with mine. It's non-financial. It's get outside before the end of the year, because, you know, we love Michigan. I love Michigan, but sometimes that snow gets to be a little bit troublesome to get out and enjoy this fresh weather. Fall's my favorite time of the year. They talked about it at church over the weekend. It's like the leaves are changing, right? It means that there's a change in life. And if anything, this year's taught us that change, to Nick's point, change is coming. Get outside, enjoy the crisp fall air, you know, take the kids, the grandkids, do that now, because pretty soon it's going to be putting on the snow pants and the snowsuit to get outside. So enjoy this fresh air. And if we can help in any way to any of these things, please let us know. But gentlemen, I'll tell you what, the conversation is always great. Folks out there listening, I promise you I will bring these guys back and more folks from our office, because we have an overwhelming response of people that want the information about what's going on out there because of so much uncertainty. So, gentlemen, I appreciate your time as always. Folks, if you want to listen to the entire show, go to the HereWeGrowRadioShow.com, go to Foguth Financial Group, go to the radio website. All of this is archived on there. We want to be a resource to you, and if there's anything that we can do, please shoot us an email, a call, and we'll either address your question personally one-on-one, or if it's just general on topic, maybe we'll talk about it on the show in the coming weeks. So, thanks again for tuning into the Here We Grow radio show. We look forward to talking to you and listening to all of the great advice from our panelists coming in the next couple episodes. Thank you, gentlemen, and be well. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Here We Grow show. To learn more about how we can help you and to get access to the resources mentioned on today's show, visit HereWeGrowShow.com. Also, don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes. Your reviews are the ways we reach more and more people each and every week. If you found today's episode helpful, you can bet there are others out there that would benefit from listening. Thanks again for taking the time to listen. Be sure to subscribe to easily access future and past episodes. Make sure to tune in next week for another great episode of the Here We Grow show.
Investment advisory services offered through Grossman Capital Management, LLC, BCM, a registered investment advisor. BCM and Foguth Financial are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.